My only disclaimer for this video is that it's the best video you'll watch all day. Maybe even the most important. Other disclaimers include discussion of chronic illness, surgery and hospitalization, and child mortality. I will also show you the healed scarring around my chest. I will warn you once we get to that section of the video if you need to skip that part. Hello my dears, Hero here, and welcome to my new room. Stick to the end of the video if you want a tour of the rest of the place. Today I want to talk to you about the video game Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and its unique depiction of pacemakers, or more accurately, pacemaker-like devices. The sequel to this game, Xenoblade 3, creative title, comes out tomorrow. So I figured this video was the perfect way to tickle the algorithm's balls. If you haven't guessed by now, I have chosen to focus on pacemakers specifically because I myself have a pacemaker. And it's extremely rare to see characters depicted with pacemakers in video games. That's right, I said characters plural. Multiple characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have these pacemaker-like devices, which is astounding to me, considering the only other example I can think of where this piece of life-saving medical technology is depicted in a video game is when Watch Dogs pulled this BS. Okay, so we're got a little prompt that says pacemaker. So now he's having a hard time breathing, he seems.
Everything alright?
It's not really explicit what Aiden Pierce did to, I forget what this guy's name is. I think it's something Quinn, so we'll call him Harley Quinn for now. It's unclear what Aiden is doing to Harley Quinn here, but since he's kind of struggling to breathe and clutching his chest a lot, I would argue that he's actually speeding up the rhythm of Quinn's heart instead of shutting the pacemaker down. It's implied that he's more shutting the pacemaker down, but such an immediate effect on this man's breathing and heartbeat. Maybe he really just is that frail and needs the pacing turned on, but I think this is more of a case of the pacing being sped up. And so his heart is pumping more blood, and thus he's trying to get more air in his body. This also kind of, when I've had this done in the hospital, it's kind of more of a tightening of the chest feeling more than anything. And now I got a second prompt for pacemaker. Again, very unclear. Not sure what that audio is about, if I'm being honest. The biggest problem is that it sounds like it's supposed to be a zapping sound, but it's so mixed into the music that it's unclear if that is part of the score or the sound effect. And a zapping sound would not be correct in this scenario because ICD units are what give electrical shocks to your heart. There are such things as pacemaker ICD units, but that is not specified here. Since you're only given a command to execute pacemaker, I am going to assume that his heart was sped up again here, but like even more to like point where he couldn't handle it and die. Yeah, that's my best interpretation, and that is also how the child who used to bully me interpreted it. They said they would speed up my heart and die. So, yeah, not a super clearly communicated scene, but the best sense we can make of it is that Aiden is using the pacemaker to change the pace of Harley Quinn's heart to, as a form of torturing, getting them to confess, and ultimately killing the old man. He's not a good person in the game, but, yeah, that was chilling. That was not fun.
I clean up mess like you.
Thanks, Watch Dogs. I didn't know I needed the fear of someone hacking into my pacemaker, speeding up my heart to the point where I die, but I sure do have it now. Every cell phone is a threat, and you all got one. I liked Qualifications Quarantine of 2020. Gave me an excuse to hide from all your death bricks. Ironic that you are now viewing me through one of those very death bricks. Assuming you're watching on mobile. Because you probably are. So hey, do me a favor. Flip me into portrait mode real quick and hit that like button. Yeah, seriously though, that Watchdog scene to me is very morbid. Especially since I found out about the scene from this kid at school who told me about it simply to get a rise out of me. From that day forward, his favorite way to tease me was to threaten to hack into my pacemaker and speed up my heart. Now, this kid thought he was being funny, and, in retrospect, I don't really have any ill will towards him, but I loathe this scene for the mistreatment I received because of it. Weaponizing life-saving technology. Sure, you can do it in a story. It's pretty unique. I myself find more unique types of violence, like you find in maybe a zombie movie, to be more engaging than typical gunplay or knife play. I get it, it's unique, and Watch Dogs is this game about hacking into things. They were technically just working with what they had and, telling a story. I get it. But fuck you, Ubisoft, that's just a bad look, bro. I wouldn't go as far as to say this is ableist in any way. However, what you did doesn't sit right with me. I only hope that I was an isolated incident and that other kids didn't have to grow up with this kind of bullying because of this negligent scene. Ubisoft, you owe me an apology, but I'll accept financial compensation. And hey, viewers at home, if you'd like to support me with your wallets so I can keep making videos for y'all, my Ko-fi is linked below. Ko-fi is a cool little site where you can basically donate to your favorite creator, buy them a coffee, Ko-fi. Every penny counts, but none are required. You can also support me by engaging with the video. Like it, coward! And comment too if you'd like to, ooh. In contrast to the thorn in my brain that is the Watchdog scene, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 uses its characters to explore what it means to be alive, and to ask the more important question, what makes a life a good life? Chronically ill people, or older people, or even children who require a device to keep them alive would certainly have unique perspectives on this question, wouldn't they? So when Xenoblade 2 posits the questions, what does it mean to be alive, and what makes a life a good life, it doesn't stop at asking its able-bodied characters. It's refreshing that this story extends the question to those who may have the most revealing answers. Now, to be totally honest with you, this video is painfully under-researched. My source for you today is trust me, bro. Let me translate that for the parents in the audience. Basically, what I mean to say is I'll be talking from my own personal experience for this and philosophizing based off that, but I will not really have many other references. Maybe in the future we can get into the topic a little more and explore it a little more academically, a little more... I gotta turn notifs off, but I was rambling anyway. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, interact if you want to see more stuff like this and see more thoroughly researched video essays. You got to support me to help me feed you back, Chapter 1. What is able-bodied? The Dialectics of Invisible Disability. The subtitle to this section is extremely important. The Dialectics of Invisible Disability. And for the sake of my poor French-Canadian father, allow me to define each of these terms before we really get into answering the question, what is able-bodied? C'est correct, papa. I got you. Man, first I call out parents in general, now I'm calling out my father directly. Sorry about that, Pepe, but I still got you. Let's start with dialectics. Dialectics are the words we use to observe, describe, define, and even debate about the world around us. Mostly the words we use to debate about the world around us. Disability is a tricky one to define, because part of the argument I will be making here today is that disability is largely a subjective experience. Meaning, if you tell me that you have a disability, it is my responsibility as your fellow man to believe you at face value. More on that later. According to the CDC, they define disability as any condition of the body or mind that makes it more difficult for the person with the condition to do certain activities and interact with the world around them. See, I said there wouldn't be much research. I never said I wouldn't take the 10 minutes it takes to Google the definition of disability. And I think this definition is pretty alright, because it not only highlights that disability can limit physical activity, not necessarily limited motion, but it also highlights participation restriction for disabled people in the world. Because we all know the world isn't built for us, right? Right? Secrets out now? No? Well, if you don't know, we belong to a capitalist system. At least here in America, we operate under good old gung-ho American capitalism, where everyone has to be useful, everyone has to be productive, and everyone has to be always moving. The company you work for has to be endlessly growing, and that system is disrupted by disabled people whose capacity to produce is less than that of their able-bodied peers. And I know some differently abled people have problems with the terms able-bodied and disabled as labels for people. I personally am comfortable using disabled to describe myself, and I am not here to offend anyone with this video. As someone with a pacemaker and a heart problem, I am simply trying to meet people where they're at. Explain to people who are completely new to this stuff the basics, so that we can begin to bridge the gap between these two communities we've kind of artificially created societally by enforcing this false dichotomy of able-bodied and disabled. But these are the dialectics we use to discuss disability. And so for today, I will be staying within this framing, because we can't change people's understanding of the world if they never understand our world. So we generally understand disability. It limits physical activity, and it restricts us in this greater capitalist system. We also know that everyone's experience with disability is different. We know the most commonly used terms that shape the dialectics of our conversation on disability, those terms being able-bodied and disabled. And now we enter the weird, wonderful, wizarding world of invisible disability. This is the part where I will show you my scar. So if you don't feel like seeing that, no offense taken, just skip to the little timestamp here. For the rest of you, this is what people don't usually see unless I'm at the beach or wearing a particularly loose tank top. When I was 9, I was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, a heart problem that describes muscle in your heart having loosened, making it more difficult to pump blood throughout the body. This is a normal heart. The heart has 4 chambers. My heart looks like this. My left ventricle is where the muscle has primarily gotten loose, and so that is larger than the average person's heart. My right ventricle is a little smaller than your average right ventricle because of a little distortion that's going on down there. Overall, though, my heart is larger than the average heart, which is why you could say I have such a bright, nurturing soul. When I was 9, doctors looked at my heart during an echocardiogram, the first one I probably had since I was like a baby, and they were shocked to find that my heart was a whole 4 times bigger than it should be. Your heart, the average human heart, should be about the size of your fist. Imagine 4 of those. I have since grown into my heart. My heart now is proportionally not that big in my chest anymore, and I live a happy, healthy life where my heart condition is managed by the combination of having my pacemaker and taking daily medications. But when I state these facts, when I say my daily medications are up to like 8 pills, which isn't that much for someone with a heart problem, FYI. When I tell you I had a Make-A-Wish when I was 10, I was a wish kid, you start to look at me very differently. That is the experience of someone with visible disability versus someone with invisible disability. The nature of this disability is much more secretive. Telling people you have a heart problem never doesn't feel like a big reveal. Until that reveal, and even sometimes after, that disability is not readily apparent. That's what makes it invisible. And this reveal is extremely high stakes because it determines how those around you will treat you in given situations. Visible disability describes this phenomena where people expect you not to be able to do things. Invisible disability is where others expect you to be able to do things. When people find out you have a disability, it can create this whiplash effect where they suddenly expect you not to be able to do tasks they once expected you to be capable of. But where is the line we draw over which we cross from visible disability to invisible disability? For me, it's a pretty simple case. I just gotta take off my shirt. But what do we really mean when we say someone's disability is invisible? Because I would argue that all disability is at least in part invisible. And so calling something an invisible disability is a little redundant. Only you know the experience of what your pain is. So while doctors can do their best to diagnose your condition, to explain it, at the end of the day, it's still your experience. And that experience can't be seen or felt by people. Because I hate to break it to you, hun, nobody's a mind reader. To quote the great Natasha Bedingfield, "Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you." For the longest time, I tried to make my condition more visible by playing up my very real struggle, but perhaps to a more theatrical degree. However, I was constantly drowned out by the capitalist system's demand to be useful, to be productive, to be moving. A lot of my managers, coworkers, and even people I've considered peers have overlooked what I consider to be an obvious struggle to get their job done, to keep the flow of production running. It may seem to you like you are obviously struggling, but your managers, coworkers, they just might not see that. They might be more willing to overlook your struggles, your constant need for small breaks, in order to get their job done, in order to keep that money machine moving. And so when I discuss people with invisible disability, I'm not just talking about this relationship of people with heart problems versus someone in a wheelchair. When I say invisible disability, and what I think we all should mean when talking about invisible disability, is the invisible struggle of people with disability, and how the capitalist system leaves no room for disabled people, and really no room for there to be an honest conversation about disability. So finally, we get to Xenoblade 2. Did you forget that's what the video was about? A lot of its disabled characters aren't conventionally disabled as we would understand it. Today, we will be examining Rex and Zeke, two characters who have the aforementioned pacemaker-like devices implanted in their chests. However, other than glowing stones in their chest, there aren't many visual signifiers that imply Rex or Zeke are disabled at all. On the outside, they seem like able-bodied people. More so even, they're superhuman, like true anime heroes. Rex and Zeke are both some of the most powerful characters in the known Xenoblade 2 universe. Heck, they are part of the hero's party. Rex is our game's protagonist. So we get to see these two grow and become even stronger. And generally, we don't view characters who are so able as being disabled in any way. But like I said, it's the experience on the inside that matters when talking about disability. And lucky for us, Xenoblade 2 is effectively an anime, down to the long monologues and explorations of character pathos and ethos. We really get to know Rex and Zeke, and so their opinions aren't just the opinions of disabled characters, they are just two characters that we know and love. I know some people find the storytelling in anime to be long, cumbersome, not necessarily the most engaging for them, but I couldn't disagree more. I love anime, and that opportunity it gives, really I only see the same level of exploration of characters in a book. And Xenoblade 2 is definitely an anime, just with more steps. A quick aside, if you want to experience all of Xenoblade's story for yourself, because it has a lot more going on than what I'll have time to cover today, I highly recommend watching the cutscenes edited as movies on YouTube. I will link a playlist that divides the story into 10 movies, 10 chapters, and it is the definitive way to experience the story. Playing the game itself, the RPG is very cumbersome. There are way too many systems, and even a hardcore RPG fan like myself had a hard time playing the game more than once because of the just overabundance of systems and menus. There's like 17 menus and like different things you can upgrade. It's honestly so much. And watching back cutscenes from the game in the event theater is really slow because each time you click on a cutscene, you have to wait for it to load, and the load screen takes this long to load up. If you want to watch a bunch of your favorite cutscenes, it starts to become taxing. So I definitely recommend checking out the playlist I linked. Big shout out to Beard Bear for editing those cutscenes together and making easily viewable Xenoblade 2 movies for us. I highly recommend you check out this story. I think it's a very important story. There's a lot there for you to enjoy. Like I said, this is an entire anime with more steps. Give it a chance if you like. But before you do that, make sure you stick with me so I can keep telling you about the characters with pacemakers. Basically, Rex and Zeke seem able-bodied, and so they're expected to be. Hell, they are the heroes of the story. They have to be capable, right? However, they inhabit this liminal space in which their disability is both visible and invisible. For Rex, this contradicts his destiny as the game's chosen one. Rex is our game's protagonist. He's able to keep up with his more powerful team members. He's also the wielder of the titular Xenoblade, also known in-game as the Aegis, basically God's own sword capable of wiping out life itself. This great source of power is also constantly Rex's source of near death, because Rex incidentally died when first encountering the Aegis.
It's a girl.
Hey, brat! Don't even think about touching that!
Huh?
The spirit of the Aegis's blade, Smash Bros. Pyra and Mithra agree to share their life force to save Rex's life. And from that point on, they feel each other's wounds. Literally. Whenever Rex takes a cut, Pyra also feels it, and vice versa.
What is this? Haven't seen this before. Don't know why a blade would be stuck with a bunch of wounds. And they're exactly the same as Rex's. Blades are supposed to heal up right away, no matter what the wound. If the crystal's in one piece and the driver's alive, nothing can touch him. So why is she all bashed up?
That's just how the chips fell. It is what it is.
What it is a problem. It means if one of you kicks the bucket, you both do.
So together, the two are more powerful, but they're also much more vulnerable.
Huh? Why would the driver?
It seems that they're taking each other's damage somehow.
So that means that the Aegis is a mere mortal right now. In that case, a little more damage, and she'll be easy to deal with.
Just like a normal pacemaker, Pyra's core crystal sustains Rex's life and makes him able in ways he otherwise wouldn't be. But Rex's core crystal and my scar are marks of the very vulnerability that made us need such devices in the first place. When people notice my scars or notice Rex's core crystal, suddenly we are considered no longer able. We cross from that invisible disability into visible.
That blade! An emerald core crystal! So, the rumors are true.
Huh? What rumors?
The tale that every driver worth his salt knows. The legendary Aegis. Folks been saying she just woke up from a 500-year nap. Wouldn't have thought she'd show up with a pencil-neck shrimp like you for a driver, though.
You think I don't have what it takes?
But that old expectation to perform still lingers over our shoulders.
Come on, boy. Hand her over to a grown-up.
This crap is getting old. Leave her alone.
You got heart, kid. I like that. You, Zuo, you take care of the others. I want to squash the kid.
In conclusion, our line in the sand of what is visible disability versus what is invisible disability is a bunch of BS, because both and neither always exist for those with disability. We don't fit nicely into any box within the capitalist system. The system was never built to include us. It was built to keep us out, but never really gave us a place to go. So we're stuck here in the middle. Don't worry, the comparison to capitalism still makes sense within the world of Xenoblade. Capitalism exists in the Xenoblade 2 universe. Rex himself is a character driven by money. He's trying to send that money home to support his family, but it's initially this high-paying job by this world's rich guy capitalist that gets Rex to accept a particularly risky mission he knows nothing about.
And that about covers it. All right, I'll see you later. Should be back in a day or two. Take it easy, Gramps.
That does not about cover it in the slightest. Why would you take a job you know nothing about? You don't even know who your employer is.
This came straight from the chairman, remember? What more do you need? I hereby swear to use every skill I possess to ensure this job is successful.
You agree without even hearing details of job?
Said dangerous mission resulted in his impairment. Money influences a lot in this game, which in turn influences the struggle Rex must overcome through his adventure. It was Rex's need for money that disabled him. And in our world, it is our long history of class division and the rich's desire to keep all the money for themselves that sets our standard for what we deem able-bodied. So again I ask, what is able-bodied? An able-bodied person only exists under capitalism, because to be able-bodied, as we now understand it, is to be productive for profit motives. Yes, medical conditions exist, and we should seek to treat and support people with said conditions, but otherwise, the rest is arbitrary to the system we have in place. Chapter 2. It's not the meaning of life that matters. It's the friends you make along the way. Rex is cool and all. I like his salvager rules.
Swim like a fish and drink like one too. That's the salvager's code.
Sounds terrible. I don't think I'll be changing careers.
Always help those who help you. That's the second rule of the salvager's code. Make a girl cry, that's not gonna fly. Make a girl smile, you pass the trial. That's the third rule of the salvager code. Open a chest, it might turn out great. But until then, it's just a crate. That's rule 4. Rule 5 of the salvager code. Always be...
I don't think we need to hear it.
He's a good-hearted kid with a cheeky side. He's a good boy. But Zeke is goodest boy.
Behold the mighty Zeke von Gembu, bringer of chaos! Mostly known as Zeke, and often addressed as the Zekenator! Behold my blade, Pandoria! And this is my sword, the Purple Lightning Dream Smasher! If you want a taste, come and get it!
Zeke is my baby boy, and he is just the spark we need to bring some life back into this video.
Come at me, and don't hold back!
What? Is this guy for real?
He's James from Pokemon with an eye patch. He's got abs, an open shirt, and this massive sword. So basically, he's James from Pokemon with even more sex appeal.
Our beloved mascot, Turtles, reveal yourself. Turtles? 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 Where are you, boy?
Oh. Hello, little guy. How are you? What are you doing out here all alone?
Turtles! Handling a man's turtle.
Zeke is the reason I wanted to make this video in the first place, because I adore this scene.
Zeke, is something wrong?
Huh? Oh, yeah. I didn't think it was worth mentioning, but,
How did you get that?
I told you about the time I almost bloody died, right?
Not far now. Just a little further. You can do it.
Just leave me. Go on without me.
No! I don't want to forget
Bandy, I'm sorry. I hope your next driver is better than me.
I don't want another driver. You're good enough. Prince Zeke!
The reason Jessie and Meowth's fusion dance here is scared to lose her memories with Zeke is because of how the life cycle of blades works in this game. You see, it's not only Rex's sword that has a spirit. Every blade in Xenoblade has a spirit. Well, except for the blades that are just normal blades. So a lot of the blades in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have a spirit. These spirits, or personifications of the blade, are their own species, aptly named blades. Blades begin their life cycles as core crystals. Then certain humans can resonate with core crystals, causing the blade's spirit to awaken. Humans who can't resonate die.
Yeah, he's done for.
Indeed.
Oh-ho! All bark and no bite! What a shame!
Yeah, that's kind of a dark part of Xenoblade 2 that really does get glossed over. And so if the game does it, I'm gonna do the same. A blade is fully sentient when born, but their memories are wiped from the last driver, the memories going away when the blade or their driver passes away. Basically, with each new driver, blades begin their memories anew.
The crystals start glowing again after a bit of time. Then a new driver can resonate with it. But
There's a but?
its memory will be totally zapped. It'll be reborn as a new blade. Won't remember a thing.
And so the cycle continues, and the blades can be viewed as reincarnating almost. But the game itself never actually uses the term reincarnation. Now you'll remember that Rex has part of Pyra's core crystal implanted in his chest. And then there's Zeke's core crystal.
I refuse to forget our 10 years together. It's not going to happen. I'm not letting you die. Here. Bandits? Sucks. I don't want to be a bandit's blade. But I guess I won't remember anyway. Prince? Prince?
Fear not. He's going to be fine.
You saved him?
The fact that you're alive is proof of that, is it not? I had to transplant part of your core crystal into his heart. His wounds were grave. It was the only way to save you both.
Pandoria and Pyra make the ultimate sacrifice by giving a part of their core crystal to their driver, because now, by splitting the cores in half, they can no longer reincarnate. They've now made that possibility impossible. That's a huge sacrifice. These blade ladies, these bladies, make it possible for themselves to die, when they could have just kept living and continuing the intended reincarnation cycle. And they do this because their memories with their drivers are so precious to them. It supersedes their design to reincarnate. Well, technically, Pandoria didn't choose to have her core transplant done with Zeke, but in retrospect, she shows that she's alright with it happening.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
Actually, I'm glad.
What? Why?
Knowing that a part of me is keeping you alive, I don't know, it's just nice.
And as for Pyra, she actually chose to share her core crystal with Rex for selfish reasons. She wants him to take her to Elysium, this world's heaven. But later on in the game, she does face the danger of having her memories taken away by this tall drink of water. And she does legitimately fight to keep her memories with Rex.
Why are you running?
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Why are you protecting this garbage?
You owe me money.
That guy is Malos, by the way. Pyra's brother and the evil Aegis, if you will. Remember him as we continue, because he's important. Memories are important to supporting Xenoblade's themes of friendship. This is a very action-adventure story, where the power of friendship is paramount to achieving your dreams. The relationship between a blade and a driver is called a bond, and without that bond, there is no relationship. A human remains a human, and a blade remains a core crystal. To have a good bond with your blade, to be a strong driver, you have to have a good relationship with your blade. A relationship built on memories. The concept extends further. As you progress through the game and your party grows, you start to build a relationship with your team. Your team builds synergy as they get to know each other. Teamwork only exists because we develop a bond with our team members. And the implication here is that putting our trust in those team members is how we develop cherished memories founded on that trust. Even one of the game's main antagonistic forces, Malos's terrorist group named Torna, also the guys who stabbed Rex in the back, displays a camaraderie amongst its members that really makes you feel for them. They share their own memories with each other, which are explored through the device of flashback cutscenes. And we cherish their backstories, their characters. Memories add texture to a friendship. They are a mark of the good times we've shared with loved ones, of the trials and tribulations faced, of the perseverance through hard times. And they're a mark of how much we've grown. Malos's friends prove that our affinity for friendship and trust may not always lead us down the best paths. And that friendship alone doesn't guarantee you a happy ending, a happy life, if you will. Most of Torna die because of their love and respect for Malos. And in the hero's final confrontation with Malos, the villain warns that words can be a curse.
He didn't even want to live anymore. And despite that, his life was the one thing he hadn't lost. Because he couldn't!
The thought of you forgetting me, it's like one heart is being ripped in two.
Words can be a curse. That curse was what kept him tied down here. A wretched tale, isn't it? This whole world is a wretched place.
Some memories we clutch onto, and Jin, Stabby McBackstab, becomes this zealot who believes the relationship between drivers and blades is that of a master and slave. He believes this because his old driver...
Laura!
Someone will find you, reawaken you, someday. for us humans. Being forgotten is a much worse fate than death. We struggle so hard to make our mark on the world.
Laura!
When you awaken, to you, it'll be like I never even existed. Jin, the thought of you forgetting me, it's like one heart is being ripped in two. I'm so sorry to do this to you.
There is one way. One final chance. A way that we can be together.
So Jin puts her on ice and curses humanity for the blade's existence depending on having a bond with humans. Then Malos strolls along, shows Jin a new purpose in life, which is destroy all humans. And now Jin has a new purpose in life and a way to distract himself from this constant pain of his loss of his old driver.
Jin told me to take care of you. In his place, you know. Jin never wanted to die. He just wanted to connect with you. He did it because you showed him a path.
That sounds like a danger that exists now inside internet spaces. Boy on computer is isolated. He finds a group online who maybe say a little racy things once in a while, but he finds community amongst these people. They welcome him in. For the first time ever, he feels like he belongs. Over time, that boy converts to a more extremist ideology that these friends he's made online have kind of guided him down a rabbit hole. Now this boy is an online extremist. Maybe he even becomes something worse. Torna is a group with a cute banter. They're quirky characters. They're fun. But they're still a terrorist group who want to end human life. Having friends is neither inherently good or bad. They merely give life purpose. Let's revisit one of our first questions. What is the meaning of life? This game rejects that there is a singular meaning to life that can be universally prescribed to all. Instead, it claims that every person's purpose is different. And regardless of what that purpose is, it is a blessing to feel like you've found it.
Looks like he's finally found it. Lady Moray. A meaning to his life. Indeed. Frankly, I'm a little jealous. After all, most people go their whole lives without finding theirs.
This answer may not be nice to some people. Because while Torna died, their ending is tragic, the game doesn't really condemn their choice to trust in Malos's purpose. We know his purpose was bad because of the tragic ending, but we celebrate that he never doubted himself or his friends. This game practically begs you to cherish your memories. You know that old saying, life's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, there's another very similar phrase that reminds me of, and that phrase is, the real treasure was the friends we made along the way. Those two phrases are so closely related in my headcanon that if we assume the treasure and the destination are referencing the same thing, we can apply the transitive property to state that the journey is only important because of the friends we make along the way. That is what I think this game is trying to say. Chapter 3. In the Face of Radical Forgiveness. So, the meaning of life is basically to make good friends, make good memories, find your purpose, and work with your tribe to actualize that purpose. Is that enough to make a life a good life? I certainly would think so. However, ending the video there feels not very conclusive. I guess the one problem I have with that philosophy, I like the collaboration stuff, but I don't like that the goal is still to produce, to be useful. It still just seems very ableist and stuck on the rails of capitalism still. I also think the focus on friends in this philosophy to life is a little narrow-minded. Don't get me wrong. I can always depend on my good friends, but there's a whole rest of the world out there. Fuck! Support me on Ko-fi so I can realize my dreams of being a content vampire. I never want to work, I just want to make videos from home. Until then, I have to go outside. I have people to deal with. Coworkers, pedestrians, complete strangers, you name it. Because as much as I want to, I can't just live in a bubble with my good friends. In fact, I would argue that is unhealthy to do that, because Torna was a group that isolated just amongst themselves for, what was it, like centuries? Yeah, 500 years those guys were just in a ship, the 5 of them, talking to themselves. And I'll tell you, it does not take that long to accidentally find yourself trapped in an online bubble and adopt the ideology of an alt-left/alt-right, usually alt-right extremist. Right now, I am projecting my voice into an ether. I'm definitely connecting to my friends on the other side of this camera, but I'm also trying to connect to the world. And I've been bitching about the world a lot in this video. Mainly capitalism. Short for global capitalism, because it's freaking everywhere. It is a toxic system that has spread globally. This toxic system is literally destroying our world, and one day we will do irreparable damage to the planet.
Your Majesty, yesterday we sealed Section 47.
I see. This is even faster than the surveys estimated.
Furthermore, we've detected surges of geothermal energy in the royal precincts.
So we can't hold out for long, even here.
The ether flow is the lifeblood of the Titan. The temperature is increasing with its age. Perhaps we should hasten moving the capital to Gormod.
We've only just recalled the consul. And with no good explanation to the Gormoti. We don't want to sow discord for no benefit.
It's just, I fear time is running short.
Indeed, but not only for us. Gormod is fertile for now, but the harvests have been declining for years. It's like a cry issuing up from the center of the world.
And we are in no way prepared for that day. In fact, the richest of the rich are hitting the accelerator towards that finish line. What do I mean? Well, look at how all the billionaires' net worths skyrocketed when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. When near-apocalyptic conditions threatened humanity, the richest of the rich buckled down and profited from the whole thing. They continue to profit from this pandemic that's not over. Why are they, the ones with all the resources, not saving the world right now? Why are they hoarding all that money as global temperatures continue to skyrocket? They won't stop until the world has literally ended. If you don't believe me, Xenoblade 2 ends with the world as they know it ending and humanity having to start from scratch. Caveman shit.
Cloud Sea is...
The Titans are gone.
I can't believe it. Is everyone dead?
We were too late.
So there's nothing left of the world but ruins?
I know that I will never save the world or prevent the same future for us. My name is Hero, but I'm not that good. But I do want to make a difference in my world, and I want to connect to people that I don't even know. I want to have a positive impact on the people who watch my videos. Even if it's just a silly little Smash Bros video that makes your day a little bit brighter, I want to be one of the bright spots for you. And if I'm lucky, maybe a video of mine can be a cherished memory for someone one day. So let's put a positive spin on the world is ending and people suck. I work a customer service job, I'm still a server, and my fellow servers and other coworkers will just ask me, how do you keep such a positive attitude? While other people will complain about their tables, I've never found I had that prerogative. I never really complain. The other day, a host asked me, have you ever had like a really bad table that made you mad? And the harshest words I could come up with at the time were, yeah, I've had some tables that aren't the best. And he ate that shit up. He was cracking up. He thought that was really funny because he was just amazed that I could keep such a positive demeanor. I am usually very patient, very kind, and I give people a lot of benefit of the doubt. And I know people have taken advantage of me for my good nature. But at the end of the day, I don't feel that distressed about it because I know I wore my best face and did my best job each day. Here's the reason I really give almost anybody the benefit of a doubt.
Chum!
Huh?
Do you like this world?
What?
Just give me a straight answer.
Yeah. Sure, there's plenty of room for improvement, but then there's also plenty of stuff that's awesome.
What about us?
Huh?
I think Charlotte's about to propose. What?
Fleabag! I mean, how do you feel about us? People?
Whew, I was worried then.
You should be so lucky. Anyway, what's your answer?
Ooh, that's a tough one. People can be fun to be around, but sometimes they're hard to deal with. And then there's mean types, like that Banner.
For sure.
But life's about taking the good with the bad, right? So yeah, I like people. And I like myself, and I'm people.
All right, Big Ed.
I see. Well, that's you all over. I'm relieved.
There was this one philosopher in college that I really dug, named Emmanuel Levinas. Now, he was a French philosopher, so it was Emmanuel, not Emmanuel. I'm not just being an asshole. Levinas has this concept of a symbol that each person wears. This symbol he calls the face. Now, you can think of the face as an actual face, but more accurately, it is the mask you wear when interacting with anyone. It is what people perceive when they look at you. For example, you are not looking at Hero right now, you are looking at the face of Hero. It's ceci n'est pas une pipe, but for people. If you're not familiar with René Magritte, or The Fault in Our Stars, this image and the phrase ceci n'est pas une pipe translates to this is not a pipe. We're supposed to take this statement at face value. This is not a pipe, it's a picture of a pipe. The face is a symbol that represents me. It is not me, however, it does make a singular request on my behalf. That request, according to Levinas, is please do not kill me. At the beginning of the video, I claimed that we have to take other people's pain at face value, even if you're inclined to minimize their pain. And I challenge you to do that because you also would deserve to have your pain taken seriously, even if it's difficult for an outsider to understand. This pain can be physical, but it can also be emotional or spiritual. When the face asks, "Please do not kill me," it is also asking you to hear its pain, respect it, to not cause it any further harm. However, we live in a world where we love to divide and otherize. Anything we don't understand or disagree with, we turn into an enemy. That's especially the case here in America. Pain becomes fear, and the face of the other is reduced to a symbol of hate. Certain faces can even cause us to hate entire groups of people. For instance, Osama bin Laden became the face of terrorism while he was alive. And to this day, we here in the US still have a large distrust of Muslim people. We look at one extremist sect, one man who led this extreme movement, and suddenly he becomes this reductive face that we attribute to all Muslim people. I say Muslim people, but literally that's a religion. It's brown people from the Middle East we're trying to box in and hate. You can even see a shift in the media pre and post 9/11 when we really started developing this fear of the war on terror. Pre 9/11, you get the depiction of Arab people being more akin to Aladdin. Tall, sexy, otherly. This is still a way of otherizing people, by the way. But it's more charitable than the post 9/11 depiction of Arab people, which is just terrorists and bombers, and it's gross. Torna, the terrorist group in Xenoblade, embodied this ideology where they viewed the face of humanity as corrupt and hopeless. So they pursue an almost holy mission to put humanity out of its misery. So we can see why this is all bad, right? We need to approach the world with empathy, love, and open arms. We have to understand that our pain does not invalidate other people's pain, and vice versa. Trust trumps mistrust, and if we approach the world with love and kindness, there's a chance, just maybe, that love and kindness will be returned to you. Of course, that's not always the case and is a pretty privileged take as someone who is a white, male presenting person. Most people are willing to be nice in return to me. I do recognize that. But I do think the world as a whole, overall, a lot of people could do with a lot more charity in their hearts. So, yeah, I think it's better to try and fail in that regard than to not try at all. It's kind of like pursuing love, right? Except in this case, it's just being loving to anyone. Okay, but Hero, what if this is someone who has wronged you? Let's take this to the extreme. What if someone truly diabolical asked for forgiveness? If Hitler had asked for forgiveness, could we get as radical as forgiving him for the atrocities he committed? So maybe Hitler isn't the best example. He is gone after all. But we are still left with anti-Semitism and a lot of neo-Nazi groups to this day. So can we really forgive and move forward with such hateful groups? It's hard for me to say yes, we can forgive hateful groups like current neo-Nazis, especially when they aren't regretful or mournful of their actions and continue to perpetuate hate in their hearts and in their lives. I am not here to be some Nazi apologist, far from it. But Xenoblade argues that while forgiveness can be the very difficult route, it is also the only solution we have left in such dire times when the world is ending.
Jin told me to take care of you. In his place, you know. Jin never wanted to die. He just wanted to connect with you. He did it because you showed him a path.
And how many people died because of it? You'd forgive him just like that?
Forgiving isn't that easy, but that's just the world we live in. We need to find a way forward within that world.
The world is ending. In Xenoblade 2, their world is ending, and in our world, it's not looking too hot. We can't undo the damage we've done, to the planet or to humanity. But we can make the decision if we want to keep flinging mud at each other. And theoretically, in an ideal scenario, working together is the path to saving humanity. This is as good a place as any to start. Strive for a world that can be a home for everyone. Rex's dream in the game aligns with Pyra's. He wants to find Elysium because his world is dying. Elysium is a promised land of sorts. It is a refuge for humanity. It's also a myth. Here's an out-of-context summary of the overall plot of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. To make Rex's outlandish dream a reality, aka to find Elysium, he has to first kill this world's pope, dismantling basically the world's entire religious structure, its entire socio-political structure, the entire economy. Then Rex has to extend an olive branch to Malos, as Malos is literally trying to destroy the world. Malos largely succeeds. He wipes out a lot of humanity, and the Earth goes back to this caveman shit.
So there's nothing left of the world but ruins?
We're crossing that rift.
But Rex doesn't give up on humanity, and still forgives Malos after this. Rex and the team move forward, moving on to presumably start humanity anew, and the game ends on a somber but hopeful note. Rex loses nearly everything, and this certainly is not the Elysium he had expected. But Rex, ever an optimist, gladly accepts this new world as home. As we forgive the world and try to build it back up, it will only continue to try to hurt us. Healing is a continuous process, which is why we can never forget that while forgiveness is not easy, that's just the world we live in. Chapter 4. Love yourself, love the world. This is Xenoblade 2's thesis statement, and the best prescription that I can think of for making this process of what I call radical forgiveness just a little easier. Remember Rex's response to Zeke when he asked him if he loved this world?
How do you feel about us, people? Ooh, that's a tough one. People can be fun to be around, but sometimes they're hard to deal with. But life's about taking the good with the bad, right? So yeah, I like people. And I like myself, and I'm people.
Rex loves himself, so it's easier for him to love the world. Then, in contrast to Rex, there exists Amalthus, this world's pope, the one you eventually end up overthrowing at the end of the game. He is pretty clearly evil from the moment you meet him, to the point where when Rex is speaking to him, he starts tripping out and starts thinking he's seeing Malos in his place.
Long ago, too long ago, I used to think like you. Indeed, it led me to climb the world tree. However, I did not find Elysium. I believe it was because I was unworthy.
As it turns out, Amalthus is Malos's driver. So let's connect the dots here. If Rex loves himself, and so he's able to love humans, then Amalthus, who doesn't love himself, must also dislike humans.
Zeke, have you ever taken a person's life?
Can't say I have. Never seen the need for it myself.
Oh?
Why does anyone kill others? Because they're in your way, or because you can't bear the sight of them? You kill because you're weak. But I'm not weak, so I don't need to kill anyone. And I don't mean physically, yeah? I mean in here.
I suppose that makes me weak then. But that weakness is why I'm standing here today.
So you hate them, humans?
No. I hate this world.
Suppose a guy who hated himself had the power that you do. I wouldn't be surprised if they wished for the whole world to disappear.
Amalthus's hate for himself not only is what causes him to hate humans, but it's also what causes him to seek more and more power as the game progresses. He is the one who climbed the world tree before Rex 500 years ago. He's the one who first brought Malos and Pyra's core crystals down to the earth. He awakened Malos and became Pope of the world, so he could have some sort of control over what he viewed as a chaotic, imperfect existence. After Amalthus became the most powerful man in the world, he still was left without any feeling of love. He still felt empty inside. And so, being ruler of the world wasn't enough. Malos sought to fulfill Amalthus's darkest desire and end humanity in its entirety. As the game progresses, you realize that blades are a little bit like dogs in that they kind of adopt the temperament of their masters.
Talking to the Praetor. I said it felt like talking to Malos.
Yeah, you did say that.
It's a funny thing. Malos and the Praetor, they want the same thing.
They say there's no bad dog, just bad trainers. While not the same, it is a very similar idea at work here, where Malos's mind has been tainted by Amalthus's darker thoughts. You realize that Malos is only trying to genocide everyone because of Amalthus's complete distaste of humans.
What do you do when you hate the whole world?
You mean...
destroy it. That's all that's left. Tell me I'm wrong.
That's a leap of logic, but I think a lot of mortals are like that.
Earlier in the video, I brought up forgiving hate groups as the most extreme example of radical forgiveness. While it is tough work, and I think it does legitimately need to be done, reform with people who have such hate in their hearts, ask them why they feel that way, get really to the root of that. I still fear the internet will be after me and try to take that out of context and paint me as some sort of Nazi sympathizer, which I very much am not. What I hope the relationship between Amalthus and Malos highlights is that hate groups, while a problem, they are more a symptom of these systems of power that try to oppress its people. We see that Malos and his goals are a direct byproduct of Amalthus's quest for power. Not only that, Malos is not the only one antagonizing the world. Amalthus also takes aggressive action against the world in the endgame, and it's kind of a competition of who ends the world first, Amalthus or Malos. So systems of power are also trying to oppress you, and hate groups are a symptom of that. In the end, the real problem here is those systems of power that create this oppressive environment where hate groups can spring up while the guys at the top are also pushing us down. But that's all gross. People with money and power are gross. We're better than that. They may profess a doctrine of hatred, but we here at the Hero of the Main channel are all about love, baby. Starting with self-love. So from now on, I by Kendrick Lamar is your new anthem. It's our anthem. Learning to love yourself is now your top priority. It's a continuous process, one you'll have to keep up with throughout your life. For some, it's naturally easier to do, and others will just struggle more. That's the unfortunate reality. But no matter where you're at with self-love, as you keep up with it, as you get better at it, you will see yourself truly start to make a difference in your world. even if you're just the bright spot in somebody's day. That is important.
Why don't you just let it go? Who do you think you're doing this for?
I'm doing it for myself. If it helps put smiles on people's faces, helps them live their lives together, then that's my role in this world!
Chapter final. Bring it around town. Let's play my favorite part of my favorite scene.
Zeke, you don't look so good yourself. Is something wrong?
Huh? Oh, yeah. I didn't think it was worth mentioning, but,
How did you get that?
Zeke is showing off his scar here because the team is in a cave that suppresses the ability of blades, which in turn has the effect of them struggling to breathe and keep up with the humans. In this case, it's kind of a handicap, a disability. But as they press on, they start to see Zeke is also lagging behind. So they turn around and ask, "Hey Zeke, what's up, buddy?" That's when Zeke reveals that he is a blade eater, meaning he has part of a blade's core crystal implanted in him. Zeke showing off his core crystal here is that aforementioned crossing from invisible disability to visible disability. The amount of hiking trips I've been on where I've fallen behind, had a hard time breathing, had people turn around and ask me what's up, just like in this scene here. It's every time. It's every time. Of course, I tell people before we begin the hike, but for a lot, they don't really have it click until we're actually going up the mountain and I'm actually falling behind. It doesn't click until they see it. I appreciate that in this part of the narrative, there's a lot of little cutscenes that break up the dungeon to show that the group is taking breaks, taking time for the disabled characters here to rest, catch their breath.
Huh? Emergency air. It might help.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, not like that. You have to hold your nose and then inhale really deeply. Now stretch out and puff out your chest.
Whoa, that really did the trick.
This is also when they start to be truly honest about their disabilities with each other. In this cave, we could describe Zeke and the rest of the Blades as handicapped, disabled. And hey, wait a minute, what's going on with Nia?
That really did the trick.
Right? When I was starting out, this was one of the first things the other salvagers taught me. Even though they acted like my parents, they never really taught me anything worthwhile. I did manage to pick up a couple of useful tricks, though.
Parents. Blah. My dad was real enough, but I can't say he really taught me anything either. There was my dad, and my big sis, the three of us.
You had a sister?
Yeah. She was very frail. I spent a lot of time at her bedside. She died not long after. Anyway, I'm sorry for talking your ear off. Sneaky git. If you had this all along, why did you hold out on me? I feel much better. Shall we go, Rex?
A life within you now.
A life.
She lives on inside you. Her life is tied to yours. Nia. Say it for me now. Address me as Father.
Yes. Father.
Her life is tied to yours.
After my sister died, it wasn't long before my dad died too.
Huh?
I'm finishing my story. Drewmark was all I had left to remember him. We started wandering together. Or maybe I should say running. I felt like the whole world was against us. There was nothing we could do but stay on the run.
Look, I don't know what's burning you, Nia, but you shouldn't be afraid.
Rex! No. No more. I won't hide any longer. I won't hide who I am.
Nia.
She's a blade.
Nia.
I am burdened no longer. Not by my past, not by Jin. I am finally free.
A blade? What the?
I'm no longer afraid. This is who I am, Rex. What's the point in living if I have to hide? Thank you for helping me see. I love you, Rex.
Nia's character arc ends with her finding personal freedom, choosing to trust herself, love herself, the same way she trusts and loves her friends. The new memories she makes with Rex and company helps her come to peace with her painful past. In the context of this cave, she can now display her disability proudly, not feeling like she has to hide anymore. And in the context of the rest of her life, she doesn't have to feel like the villain, the outcast. Able and disabled, hero and villain, those who belong and those who are outcast. These are all labels we use to try to compartmentalize society. But all we end up doing is make the sick, minority groups, and the poor the bad guys. Don't believe me? Check your state's incarceration numbers. Disabled, black, Latino, or anything not white, poor. These are faces we fear and persecute instead of trying to understand. These are entire groups of people, all of whom have had their complex lives and histories reduced down to labels, false binaries. Words can be a curse. But words are also a blessing, right? They are how we fortify bonds with friends and strangers alike. Language is how humans communicate. Xenoblade 2 shows us that words have such profound potential for good or evil. However, it also claims that words themselves are neither good nor bad. They simply are. So what my takeaway is, and what I'd like to leave with you here today, is that there are two kinds of words. There are words of love, and there are words of hate. And maybe I've created my own false dichotomy here, but roll with it, alright? There are words of love, and there are words of hate. Choose words of love. Love yourself. Love the world. Challenge yourself to look for the good in your world. But how, hello my dears, I hear you asking? How do I look for good in the world when it's just so depressing? If you want to start small, make a difference in your life, and build a more positive outlook on life to help you during this process of self-love, I'd like to teach you an exercise that a good friend taught me. Whenever you refer to yourself in negative terms, you have to follow it up with 3 positive affirmations. For example, when I mess up, I'll often go to saying, I'm so stupid. But then I have to follow it up with, but hey, I'm also good looking, I'm pretty dang smart, and I have an awesome YouTube channel. And so that's the basic premise. Get your friends in on it, so that when you're really, really heated, they can call you out and still make you do the exercise. This did happen to me the other day where I did call myself stupid, and my friend who taught me the game stopped me and made me come up with 3 positive things to say. And I'll tell you, it was really hard to do that when I was already so heated and upset with myself. But I did do it, and it did help take the edge off. It's a nice, easy challenge you can incorporate into your day-to-day. And as you get good at it, you can start to challenge yourself even more and do the exercise with other people you say not so nice things about. This is maybe a little harder, and that's because you're really practicing a kind of forgiveness. Negative words are punishments, words of hate. Positive words are forgiveness, words of love. Choose words of love. Thanks for watching, my dears. Until next time, I love you. Welcome to the Great Big Moveout video 2. Except this time it won't be that big because we are gonna do this little house tour in the time it takes us to cook a bag of popcorn. So we've already gotten acquainted here with the pantry. There's also a little snake here. That's a little cheater move where we've begun the house tour before the challenge begins. Oops. Oh god, this is the floor. Boom. Alright, now let's finish showing off the house before this popcorn's done. Let's go. So this is the kitchen. It's a nice small little kitchen with the fridge, pantry. You got our table. Then you get our living room area here. Heckin' cozy vibes. You'll remember the couches were separated the last move out video. Liz and I live together now, so booyah, couches are reunited and it feels so good. There's my lazy boy. This place looks great. TV. We're burning time. This is the room where we keep the dead bodies. Nothing interesting in there. Just kidding, it's a water boiler room. The only interesting thing in there is the dead bodies we keep. This is Liz's room. We're only gonna peek in. They got a pretty cool thing going on. Last of Us 2 poster. Booyah. Good flags in this home. Uh-oh. That popcorn's popping. Welcome to my cute little bathroom. Where I piss and shit, where I shower. It's a stall that I have to duck into. Tall people problems. Nice little bathroom though. As far as small bathroom goes, it's pretty. Got paintings in the hallway. And now, booyah, where all the magic happens. Here are the main studio. Table, little desk area. There's my dresser and bedside table. My marimba, which currently is covered in a bunch of shit. You must be familiar with this desk by now. Newly acquired AC unit as well. Shout out to my mother. And that's the set. That's the home. Small little place. Cozy. No more than what I need. It's perfect. Damn. Damn.